As a lifelong Pokemon fan and a Pokemon card collector, one of the things that I struggle with the most, and a lot of collectors struggle with this, is how much money I should be spending towards my collection. And up until about 6 months, if not a year ago, it was going to be a sealed collection, but we all saw how that kind of turned out. Now, I'm not blaming scalpers or the Pokemon company for not printing a lot of product, I'm just blaming myself because I don't want to spend a lot of money right now on something that's not a guarantee. And by guarantee, I'm more referring to actually opening those packs and getting something from those packs. Right? Not these awful traumatic evolution pull rates. And there have been a lot of new collectors lately asking me where they should be spending their money, what they should be buying, how they should be investing or collecting, and I don't have a really good answer. But what I can give you is kind of my strategy or my foundation as to what I collect and how I collect. Which is why in this video, I want to go over what I would do if I was a new collector and I had $100 and the first page of my new binder. Now, obviously, since I'm showing a binder, that means we're probably not buying sealed product. Which brings me to my top 9 single cards I would buy with a $100 investment. Again, I don't have a recipe for success or a fix on the system. These are just 9 cards that I feel everybody can enjoy and for the most part do have some upside potential. And to start off this list, at the number 9 spot, I have the Braviary illustration rare from Surging Sparks. With the current market price of $5.66, I believe that this card is heavily undervalued. One, because I think Braviary is a brilliant Pokemon, and I think this is a brilliant artwork. And the majority of that might be due to how similar it is to Vincent van Gogh's artwork. If you look at it, it really does have an impressionist style to it, and I don't know a lot about art, but what I do know is Vincent van Gogh was famous, his artworks are famous, his artworks are loved, the Braviary should be loved. Additionally, the illustrator behind this card, and let me not butcher his name right now, but the illustrator is Gapow, and this is his very first full art illustrationer on his journey to creating more artworks for the Pokemon TCG community, so who knows, this might be one of those cards that does go up in price solely because of the illustrator behind the work. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have a little bit of a throwback to the Silver Tempest Trainer Gallery, and that is the Mawile V. With a current market price of $6.29, I don't think that this artwork is heavily undervalued. I think it could be more expensive as compared to other artworks within the $10 to $15 range that I don't think are as good as this piece. Plus, I was and still am a big fan of the Trainer Gallery from the Sword and Shield era because they were starting to give us a lot more artworks with trainers and their Pokemon, and now look where we are in the Scarlet and Violet era with destined rivals soon to appear and our trainer Pokemon coming back to the TCG. In the number 7 spot, I have the Froslass illustration rare from Twilight Masquerade. With a current market price of $6.42, Froslass, for those of you guys that don't know, has a really good ability in the TCG that allows you to spread damage counters to all Pokemon in play with an ability, which makes it really strong in spread decks. Now, granted, Froslass isn't a super popular card in the TCG right now because of Monkey Dory, which is basically its arch nemesis slash its best friend if you're playing it together, because Monkey Dory allows you to spread damage. However, I do enjoy this Froslass artwork a lot because of the hyper-realism aspect of this card. Another reason that I really enjoy this card is because I feel like it encapsulates Froslass and its Pokédex entry, and if you read its entry, you will realize that Froslass is a bit of a crazy Pokemon that, has the ability to freeze its enemies or freeze people and then put them on display. And it looks so calm and peaceful in this image, but then you realize it's probably planning to put you on display. And I don't think this is something that's confirmed, but I want to believe that Froslass is probably looking at its prey, and that thing that is on the ground on the floor is a kimono, and that kimono is probably attached to their prey. So in the end, I really have to think that Pokemon did a great job capturing the essence that is Froslass and its darker side. In our number 6 spot, I have the first special illustration rare of the video, and that is Mila from Paradox Rift. With a current market price of $10.30, I think this card is definitely appropriately priced, but I think it's also positioned for a fairly big boom. I'm not going to say it's going to go up to $30 or $40. However, this has everything to do with the illustrator. And if I successfully butcher this illustrator's name when it's only 4 letters, I'm going to be very upset. But the illustrator for this artwork is Rika, and they are designing the Cynthia's Roserade coming in Heatwave Arena. They've also illustrated some other great artworks like the Dragonair from 151 and the Mantike illustration rare. But in the end, as we see the resurgence of these trainer Pokemon cards coming back to the TCG, we might see a rise in popularity of some of these other cards from previous sets that do involve trainers and their Pokemon. Pulling just ahead of Mila, in the number 5 spot, I have the Fraxure illustration rare. Now, the majority of the reason that I enjoy this artwork is because of what's happening in the background, and then when you read its ability, Unnerve, whenever your opponent plays an item or a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. So you've got all the Axew in the background playing on the cliff, and Fraxure's just there in total peace and serenity. I think it's very cool how they thought about linking the two aspects together, and apparently a lot of people did, because with a current market price of $11.88, we saw this card have a very sharp increase in price about a month ago, and now it's steadily come down, but I think it will flatten out at between the $10 and $15 range for probably the next 6 months to a year. In the number 4 spot, I've got our second special illustration rare, and that is the penny from Paldean Fates. With a current market price of $12.97, I feel like this is appropriately priced because of one crucial thing in this artwork, and I hate to say it, it's Umbreon, right? Everybody saw how wild Umbreon cards can get, and the penny has really been bringing up the back of the pack, which for you guys, if you do enjoy Umbreon, this could be a really good card to get involved in. And I say this once again, highlighting the fact that we are getting trainer Pokemon back to the TCG, and who knows, we might get a trainer Pokemon with their Umbreon, we might get a better penny card. This could be one of those sleeper picks right now that do explode in the future. But again, take all this with a grain of salt and make your own decisions. Breaking into our top 3 and giving us a little throwback into the Sword and Shield era, I have the Lumineon V full alternate art card, and you guys are already seeing this theme. I love hyper realistic Pokemon cards, but sadly I can't say that's the same case for a lot of collectors out there, because with a market price of $14.36, this is one of the cheaper alternate art cards that you can find from the Sword and Shield era. So for those of you that are new to the TCG, or you just didn't get to open a lot of packs, this might be one of those cards that you see and realize, wow, this would be really cool to have, because you're not paying an arm and a leg to grab one of the really famous alternate arts like the Umbreon or the Gengar VMAX or the Mew VMAX. In the number 2 spot, I have one of my favorite illustration rares from the Scarlet and Violet era so far, and that is the Armarouge illustration rare from Scarlet and Violet base. With a current market price of $14.65, the Armarouge illustration rare was one of those illustration rares that really nobody cared about up until a month ago or so, when the Drowsy started skyrocketing in price and people started looking back at Scarlet and Violet and thinking, wow, there are some really good artworks here. Which is insane, because when Scarlet and Violet base set first came out, even like 6 months after, you couldn't give the packs away. You could find thousands and thousands of packs for $2.75 coming out of the distributors, but now it's getting so hard to find it because that Drowsy did hit a goofy, what, $700 in a PSA 10? But ignoring the Drowsy and bringing our attention back to the Armarouge, this is such a bright and brilliant artwork, and it was so underrated for a long time, and with a $15 market price, I really don't think that that's fair for this artwork, because in a PSA 10, this card sells for $300. Now, granted, are we going to focus on PSA 10 prices for this video? No, we're not. That was just a tidbit I wanted to throw in there, because there are very few cards out there that are sub $30 that if they grade a PSA 10 will be worth anything over $200. So that's just a little tidbit of information for you guys. If there is a card that you want because you want to grade it and you think that is a brilliant artwork, I would go with the Armarouge. Last but not least, rounding off the first 9 cards in our binder, I have Cynthia's Ambition. With a current market price of $16.61, this Cynthia's Ambition card came to us from the Galarian Gallery set of Crown Zenith. And when this card debuted, there were a lot of people that were like,
oh man, this is really cool, you know, Crown Zenith is exceptional.
But that Galarian Gallery, there's just so many artworks and they're all kind of mid, right? There weren't any big alternate arts besides, you know, the Giratina and the Arceus that people were really after. And now, fast forward 2.5 years, people are realizing just how great Crown Zenith was and just how much it was overlooked. And when talking about cards with a lot of upward potential, you have to talk about Cynthia's Ambition, because what are we getting here in the next few months? We are getting Cynthia's Roserade, Cynthia's Garchomp, some major changes that honestly might revamp Cynthia's popularity among new collectors, and Cynthia's Ambition is that sleeper pick that you guys do not want to forget about. And with that, we have the first page of your Pokemon card binder totaling out at $99.43. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the picks. If you didn't, let me know what you would swap in the event of this binder. If you did enjoy the video, please consider leaving me a like, dropping a follow, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, have a very, very wonderful day. Peace. If you guys did enjoy the video, please consider checking out the rest of my channel. We are primarily TCG focused, bringing you guys some of the best decks and some of the goofiest decks in our current standard format that is Journey Together. And if you guys have any questions about any decks in my videos or anything about this video, please comment down below. I'd love to talk to you guys about it. And if you did enjoy the video, once again, feel free to leave a like, and you guys have a very, very wonderful day.